It's time for another shot of Mark's whiskey. All right, for this week on Mark's Whiskey, on the Mark's Whiskey podcast, we're going to be reviewing Old Forester. Now, where did you say this one is from?
So this is another Kentucky bourbon. Its claim to fame is it is the first bottled bourbon. So there were bourbons that were made before it or around the same time, but this is the first people to put it in a bottle. Before that, I guess you drink it straight from the barrel.
Yeah. Now, wasn't it? Isn't Evan Williams? There's a controversy because they claim to be the oldest.
Well, like I said, this one doesn't claim to be the oldest bourbon. Just the one, the first ones that put it in a bottle.
Right.
Which
right.
doesn't really tell me anything. Like, okay.
It means that
it's
they're
old.
not a new whiskey on the market.
They've been around for a while.
Yeah.
But it's like canned corn. You were the first people to put corn in a can.
Doesn't say anything about the quality other than you've been doing it for a while.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna reserve judgment until we taste it.
All right. So maybe if you want to play bartender again and pour that out. Now as you guys can see, Michael Arms is not here again. So and we've been asking you through this. Go to facebook.com/markswhiskey. Or go to our YouTube page, which is down below, and let us know. Michael's needs some help coming up, some really good excuses as to why he's not here for this series of recordings. So go in and post your thought. Mine is he actually went and he tried to get on with Santa Claus during the holidays and help deliver the presents, but they heard a couple songs from his last band, Cradle Man, and Krampus actually decided that he just threw a fit, and he says, "No, I want Michael to help me." So Michael's really tired from going around helping Krampus, grab naughty kids and take them to hell. So anyways, Michael, rest up, and if you want to help Michael out and give an excuse as to why Michael's not here, go to facebook.com/markswhiskey or go to our YouTube page linked below and help Michael out and come up with an excuse as to why he was not able to make it for this recording. Do you guys have any excuses for Michael this week?
Which turned him into a newt.
He's a newt.
Hey, do you think he's going to get better?
He got better.
Okay. Yeah. And no, I say a cave woman came and bashed him over the head, and now he's been being eloped right now as we speak.
Oh, nice.
Taken away.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, her name wouldn't be Kathy Bates or anything, would it?
We'll have to see what the marriage certificate says.
All right. So come up with your excuse as to why Michael Arms is not here for this recording. Facebook.com/markswhiskey or go to our YouTube page linked below. Anyways, we're gonna dig into some Old Forester here. So drink up, guys.
Mm-hmm. I think I like it.
I don't like the finish as much.
Yeah, it's Let me try a second sip.
Yeah.
It's a lot smokier than the other ones we've been doing.
Okay, second sip is way better.
It is, yeah.
It definitely...
the first sip was almost like...
kind of vinegary.
Kind of vinegary. It reminded me of cardboard. You know the smell of like cardboard boxes?
Yeah.
Like a storage unit.
I do love the initial taste on the tongue, the feel on the tongue. Does it say how long it sat in the barrel? Because this seems very, very woody. And like you were saying, a little, kind of cardboardy, but I would say actually more woody. Doesn't say anything about how long it stays in the barrel.
It's pretty dark from here.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, and there's a reason why it's dark. That's not food coloring or anything. I think that's time in the barrel. So and it's 86 proof. I find that interesting. It's 86 proof. It's not 80. It's not 90. It's 86. That's kind of a weird number. But
I guess that's what the amount of water they need to make it taste the way they like it.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, I'm okay with it.
But
And this another one you picked up at Total Wine and More?
mhm.
Yeah, under 30 with tax on this one, too.
No.
Yeah. So
It's not bad. I like it a lot.
and I'm noticing that each sip, it tastes a little different.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely evolves on the taste buds.
There's a sweetness to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me more of a Scotch than a bourbon almost.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
yeah. That
Yeah.
nails it, I think, right there. Yeah.
Did the cardboard smell go away after the second sip?
It's still there, but I think it's more.
It's it turns into
It's more
into a
woody.
pleasant-
Yeah. It's not an unpleasant thing. It's yeah.
Yeah. So. I can't decide whether I would say thumbs up or not, though. I'm thinking I either am going to really like it or really hate it.
I think there's only one way to find out. This warrants.
By the way,
warrants further study.
I invited Scott on the podcast because I knew he was a fan of whiskey, but I'm starting to think he's going to be a bad influence on us. So,
You do have a couch, right?
Right. I am. I like that though. That's.
it's.
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up.
I'm going to give it a thumbs up simply because it is one of the more interesting whiskeys. And I know that with a few weeks ago, I did an after the bottle for Clyde Mays, which is a whiskey I really hated at first, but grew to love very quickly. I think this is going to be kind of like the Clyde Mays in that I think this is going to grow on me real quickly. So I'm going to say thumbs up.
I think I like it. I'm not sure I can drink much of it at a time. I think it's a little heavy, and I think
Yes.
that more than a finger or two is going to be pushing it.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it just in moderation. It's not when you're going to spend, you're going to get drunk on.
Kind of like if you get if you drink I really like your double box and your triple box, but if you get a triple box beer, don't eat real heavy because that triple bock is gonna. It's gonna fill. It's very filling, and I think it's very heavy and.
Yeah, I think this would be awesome with a steak and potatoes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. So this is we recommend drinking this with a steak and potatoes. I think that's a 100%. Yeah, I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
So this is the steak and potatoes whiskey, Old Forester. And now I think we're gonna go for an after the bottle.
Okay.
I was thinking about us going for a steak.
Going for a steak and potatoes, maybe. Yeah. I think we have a bar across the street, Pints and Courts, that might be able to do a steak and potatoes. So, all right. So next up is an after the bottle. All right. Now, in a few weeks, the next series of filmings that we do. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we wear the same shirt for a month. And the reason is we're actually not smelly bums. Wait,
we're not.
Speak for
no.
yourself.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. But we film everything. We film several episodes at once because it's hard to get everybody together. So, but in the next series, I'm going to have a decades old friend of mine that actually inspired this podcast, because I went down to visit him in Arizona, and we drank a bunch of whiskey right before my plane flight so that I could actually get some sleep and not be completely comatose during my plane flight. And his favorite whiskey is George Dickel. And so I figured, as in tribute to him, we reviewed George Dickel several episodes ago. And I finished it, and I realized I don't think we've ever done it after the bottle on it. So I got to say, at the end of it, Bob, you were correct. George Dickel is a very good sipping whiskey, and I enjoyed it, and I could definitely see myself buying it again. So if you're into sipping whiskeys, this is one of those that you actually may not want to have it on the rocks. Actually, this is one you might be able to drink neat. So definitely recommended to drink this neat or on the rocks, George Dickel. And that is after the bottle. Unless you guys have any things to say.
No, George Dickel is one of those names that I've heard, as being the classic sort of like rye, right? Isn't it a rye whiskey? What's a sour mash?
Yeah, it's a sour.
Anyway, George Dickel is one of those names that you hear all the time. I haven't had the opportunity to try it.
Oh, okay. All right.
To check it out.
Okay. So, anyways, George Dickel, after the bottle, I would say it's highly recommended sipping whiskey. So, anyways, next up, we should have a little bit of the lighter side of whiskey from my good friend Bert Webb.
Say, how'd you return from the whiskey tasting at the bar yesterday?
Is lightning?
Oh, that fast?
Nope, more or less like the shape in a zigzag.
What's the difference between a G-spot and a bottle of whiskey? A guy's probably going to look for a bottle of whiskey. Does anybody want to buy a duck? No? Yeah, I was drinking at the bar last night and had some really good whiskey, and I had to take the bus home, which isn't really a big deal to you, but I've never driven a bus.
All right, welcome to another whiskey-soaked conversation, and this is featuring Jesse James American Bourbon. For those of you who don't know, Jesse James, it's not the reality show douchebag that was married to what's her name, Sandra Bullock. Yeah, it's not that guy. But this is actually the '80s rock star. He had the one-hit Lumberjack. And had the chainsaw and all that, and that's actually who promotes this Jesse James whiskey. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's great. I'm happy to drink that.
I did not like it neat at all.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it neat, and it was a little much, but on the rocks, I like it. I gotta say.
So that like with single malt Scotch, that's the thing that they say is not so much on the rocks, but with a splash of water in it is the preferred way, because the diluting it a little bit brings out the aromatics and brings out the flavors in it.
Now, I always put it on the rocks because instead of doing the splash of water, because I don't know. I mean, you do it with a splash of water. How much of a splash of water? How much is a splash of water? So I always put it on the rocks with an ice cube made from filtered water.
Right.
Now, do you think that have you ever experienced a difference, or do you know of a difference between doing the splash of water as opposed to having it on the rocks?
Not really. I mean, I noticed that. So when you chill it, actually, I noticed that it tends to mute the flavors a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So if you want a more vibrant, like bouquet, or flavor profile, than doing sort of room temperature water, but I'm okay either way. I think chilling it makes it easier to drink a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. If it's a really expensive single malt, Scotch or something like that, then I'll dilute it with water.
Okay. And now, what would you recommend people measure the water with? Because I've always made the joke of you might as well take an eyedropper to sit there and measure the water, because you don't want to water down your whiskey.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
And let's make it clear, we're always talking about filtered water, because you never want tap water to touch your whiskey. So how much? I mean, what would you recommend using? How much water should somebody put in, do you think?
Well, I think. That's a really good question. I sort of eyeball it, right? So I'll do some whiskey, like one finger of whiskey, and then I'll take the pitcher of water and sort of splash it in there. And if it seems like it's the right amount, then I'll taste. It's all taste, right?
Yeah.
So if you get the taste that you want, then great. If you need more whiskey, then add more whiskey. If you need more water, add more water. It's so much of this stuff is subjective.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that's one thing that I've noticed with a lot of the other whiskey podcasts is you get these guys that have such a stick up their butt that they take the fun out of whiskey, and the guy, there's one guy that drinking, you look up on YouTube, drinking whiskey like a sir, and this guy is like, smell it, oh, and thank you, how are you doing? Oh, and oh, very fine, how about you? And Oh, and it's like, and the guy sticks his nose so far into the glass that he's got nose goblins. You know, he's sitting there saying, don't use tap water in your whiskey, but he's sitting there sticking his nose into the glass so much he's got nose. I'd rather have tap water in my whiskey than nose goblins. All right, so I think that there's got to be a balance between. Drinking it right and getting the most out of the beverage,
right? But
while still keeping it fun, keeping it an enjoyable beverage. And I think
one way or the other, you're killing brain cells, man. So
what
so whatever works for you.
What are those? No, it's and that's the thing is like a lot of my friends, sit there and they know how I'm getting into whiskey and diving into the whole thing of it, and they're just like. Yeah, but does it get you drunk? Like that's all I want to know is just give you drunk. Give me some Fireball, And so
I'm ashamed to admit how much Fireball I've consumed.
I think my wife has said before in previous episodes, Fireball definitely has its place.
Without a doubt.
It's definitely something. It tastes great in hot chocolate. And we're actually contemplating. We've been trying to plan basically diving into all the cinnamon whiskeys because everybody goes for Fireball, but there's some much higher quality with cinnamon whiskeys out there. So we're actually kind of being the casual whiskey podcast. We know the Snobby Watt podcast won't cover cinnamon flavored whiskeys, so we will because we're the casual whiskey podcast. But snobby bastards, yes.
What the hell, man?
So and I think I counted what was it like 15 different cinnamon whiskeys at my the Total Wine and More near my house. Yeah. So with 15 different flavors of cinnamon whiskey, there's got to be some better quality than Fireball.
Absolutely. Have you thought about making your own, like infusing your own whiskeys?
I have.
What if you got like a bottle of whiskey and dropped some cinnamon sticks in it? What would happen if you did that?
That is actually a really good question. Do you think that's? Do you actually? I mean, do you think that that's all it is? Is like throw some cinnamon sticks in there?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that can't be worse than Fireball. So, come on. I mean, throw some cinnamon sticks, let it sit for a couple of weeks or something like that, and see what happens.
As opposed to sprinkling some cinnamon in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you want to get the oils to infuse with it.
Okay.
So there was a.
That's how you make your homemade vanilla. You take a vanilla bean and put it in
right.
vodka.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There used to be a place in South Lake Union called Venick, which is not there anymore. It used to be on 9th Avenue in South Lake Union, and they were a vodka place, but their thing was they infused their own vodkas, and so they would put. They had a chili pepper vodka, and they had like a pickle vodka, and they had vanilla vodka, and they had cinnamon vodka, and they had all these different vodkas, and basically it was just putting crap in a bottle and letting it sit, until the flavor had imbued itself into the alcohol.
I think that's going to have to be part of our cinnamon whiskey series. Is just throwing some cinnamon sticks into some decent whiskey. Now, I mean, you don't want high level for top shelf whiskey. No. But none of this $100 a shot stuff. But
Rebel Yell might actually be a nice one to throw some cinnamon in.
You think that would work well as a cinnamon whiskey?
And Bullet might work as one.
Okay. Now, what about Burnside? That's probably a little too expensive to.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know that I've had Burnside. Do you have Burnside?
Oh, well, it's an empty bottle. Sorry to tease you. Yeah. It's our reigning champion. It's our reigning king of we keep teasing that we're going to get an actual physical throne for our Burnside bottle. Just to see if any other whiskeys out there can dethrone Burnside.
Nice.
It's
okay.
Yeah, it's so far in the entire time we've done this podcast, Burnside is the king. So, and we've yet to find somebody that...
I'm going to have to make a note of
that. Don't worry, we've recorded it for you.
Oh, excellent. That's good.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
By the way, I know you can't see it, but there's actually a video camera right there. We've been recording this whole time, so those things you said about your boss earlier, yeah.
Oh yeah, the dual life of a musician who works in in the corporate world too.
Yes. You got to throw the wig on, get the long hair, and then
Yeah,
the hair extensions for the goatee.
It's
you know?
it's always weird. So I played a gig. Oh, this is hilarious. So I played a gig. It was like a house party. It was somebody's 50th birthday, and it was up in Arlington on this big farm, and the band was setting up outside, and they had like a fire dancer and juggler, and it was crazy. It was like this whole hippie party out in the woods. So the band's setting up, and this woman comes up to me, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And I look at her, and I'm thinking, I know you. Where do I know you from? And like, holy crap! I work with you. You sit like in the next cubicle over, and I'm like, you are so far out of context. Like, I don't even know. She's like, you're really out of context here too. And so my buddy, the other sax player, he's like, oh, so you know Scott only from work. So you know the responsible one. I'm looking at him, I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. I'm not. We're not talking about that here, okay? Like, they think that I'm a responsible, adult who shows up and knows crap when I go to work. They don't know me. Just keep your mouth shut. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that all the time.